If you're a real estate investor in Nigeria, there is a city you should be paying very close attention to in 2026. And that city is Uyo. Hello there. My name is ESV Nyakunaipa, and I am an estate surveyor in Bala. Welcome to Real Estate Realities. And I'm not saying that simply because I'm in Uyo. I'm saying it because when you look closely at the numbers, the infrastructure, the connectivity, and the economic activity and the direction in which Akwa Ibom is developing, there are some very interesting signals for anyone thinking about real estate investment. Let me show you what I mean. Number one, housing demand. One market analysis estimates that Uyo could require approximately 112,000 additional residential units over the next 7 years, representing an estimate of 3.3 trillion naira residential investment opportunity. That same analysis projects property prices to grow by about 12 to 15% annually, while rental appreciation is estimated at approximately 10 to 12% annually. Now, these projections are not guarantees. So I'm not telling you to hear those numbers and immediately put your money into property. Real estate investment is about studying the fundamentals, assessing risk, understanding the market, analyzing the location, and then making an informed investment decision based on evidence, not excitement. And that is why these numbers are worth paying attention to. Because when you have growing demand, you want to understand where the demand is going, what is driving the demand, and which locations and property types are positioned to benefit from it. And that brings me to something very important: infrastructure. Let's look at how infrastructure is changing the map of Akwa Ibom State and Uyo. Now, over the past 3 years, Akwa Ibom has recorded approximately 1,500 kilometers of economic revival roads, alongside about 40 bridges commissioned or under construction. Now, as a real estate professional, I pay attention to this because infrastructure does much more than make transportation easier. Accessibility can change the economic usefulness and ultimately the attractiveness of a location. Think about it. When roads open up an area, when bridges connect communities, when transportation improves, and when economic activities begin moving towards previously less accessible locations, what happens? You begin to see changes in population movement, you begin to see businesses move, you begin to see demand for houses, and ultimately, you begin to see changes in the way people value land and property. So the question for an investor isn't simply, where is property cheap? The better question is, where is infrastructure going? What is it connecting? And what economic activity is likely to follow? Because what happens to surrounding land and property when population, employment, businesses, and infrastructure begin clustering around major economic corridors? That's the kind of question a serious real estate investor should be asking. Now, let's look at healthcare, tourism, and commerce. Now, when you look at what's happening across healthcare, tourism, and commerce in Akwa Ibom State, Akwa Ibom is developing major assets, including the 350-bed Ibom International Hospital, the Arise Palm Resort, the Ibom Convention Center, the Arise Shopping Center, and of course the Ibom International Hotel, alongside other major developments. The state is deliberately positioning itself as a tourism hub with significant investment in hospitality, events, commerce, and aviation. And here is why this matters to real estate. When major healthcare, hospitality, convention, commercial, and leisure facilities begin coming into a city, they don't operate in isolation. They attract people, they attract businesses, they attract employment, they create visitors. And those people need somewhere to live, somewhere to stay, somewhere to work, somewhere to shop and do business. That creates demand for different forms of real estate. So once again, ask yourself, what happens to surrounding land and property when major economic assets begin clustering around an area. That's where you begin to see the connection between infrastructure, economic development, and real estate. Now, let's talk about connectivity. Connectivity and aviation. Ibom Air has moved beyond being simply a domestic airline. Ibom Air has expanded its operation internationally, including the Uyo-Accra route, while Akwa Ibom's aviation infrastructure has also undergone significant expansion. Last year in 2025, Ibom Air was named Best Airline in Nigeria for the fourth consecutive year. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway is also a connectivity factor that one needs to look at. It's opening up Nigerian's coastal corridor with major section passing through Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom is increasingly becoming accessible by road and by air. Finally, let's look at the cleanliness and the quality of place factor. This is something investors overlook sometimes, the quality of the place itself. Akwa Ibom has repeatedly received recognition for cleanliness, including being recognized as Nigeria's cleanest state for multiple consecutive years, with the State Environmental Agency reporting recognition from 2018 through 2022 under the Clean Up Nigeria State of the Nation reporting. Now you may ask, what does cleanliness have to do with real estate? Quite a lot, because people don't invest in buildings alone, people invest in places. A place that is peaceful, accessible, clean, organized, and increasingly connected can become more attractive to residents, businesses, visitors, retirees, and diaspora investors. And all of those people ultimately interact with real estate. When you're analyzing a market, don't look only at the price of land. Look at the quality. Look at the direction and economic future of that location. Now, finally, let's look at the bigger picture. So when you put all these things together, housing demand, infrastructure, roads, bridges, aviation, healthcare, tourism, commerce, connectivity, and the broader economic development taking place across Akwa Ibom, you're not looking at isolated projects. You're looking at pieces of a larger economic ecosystem, and that is what makes Uyo interesting. But here's what I want you to be careful about. Don't invest in Uyo simply because somebody tells you Uyo is a nice place to invest. Study the fundamentals. Look at where infrastructure is going. Look at where economic activity is developing. Look at population movements. Look at housing demand, rental demand, accessibility, the quality of the neighborhood you want to invest in. And most importantly, do your due diligence before you commit your money. Because being in a growing city does not automatically make every property a good investment. The real skill is knowing what to buy, where to buy, why you're buying, and how to verify what you're buying. And that is how you move from simply buying property to actually making an informed real estate investment decision. And that is what Real Estate Realities is about. Helping you understand real estate, helping you make better real estate decisions. If you want practical, professional insights that can help you make better real estate decisions, follow Real Estate Realities. My name is ESV Nyakno Ekpa. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.